Welcome back, fourth grade. Today we're going to work on subtraction and subtraction with regrouping. Now, our book calls it renaming. I think we tend to say regrouping, but it means the same thing. So go ahead and title your page today in your note-taking, subtraction with regrouping, and let's get started. So let's take a moment to think about what it means to subtract. Take a simple problem like 10 minus 7. Well, when we subtract, we're going backwards, right? We're starting with 10 and we're going backwards 7. And so you could count backwards, right, to get to 3. It also means that you could count up from 7 to 10, and that would take 3 also, right? So the same thing holds true when you're dealing with fractions or mixed numbers. So let's take this problem, 2 1/4 minus 1 3/4. Again, same idea that we could count down or we could count up. So let's think about counting up in this case. So if we are starting at 1 3/4 and we want to get to 2 1/4, that would be the difference between them. So 1 3/4, if we were to increase that by a fourth, that would take us to 2. And then to get to 2 1/4, we would still need another 1/4. So the difference between these is 2/4, which is equivalent to 1/2. Now, you might say to yourself, well, that seems logical because 3 minus 1 is 2, but let's take a look at if we stacked this problem and wrote it differently. So when we subtract mixed numbers, we do the same thing we do with any kind of subtraction problem. You always start in the least place. So I'm going to draw a little dotted line here that's going to separate the whole number from the part, okay? So we're going to start with the part, and this says we need to start with 1/4 and take away 3/4. Well, if we only have 1/4, we don't have enough fourths to take away, right? So this is where regrouping comes into place. Now, regrouping is a little different here. So I want you to pay attention. So I am going to take 2 1/4 and write it differently. I'm going to write it as 1 plus 1 plus 1/4. Okay, so I've taken that whole number of 2 and split it into 2 ones, which is fine. I could do that, right? But now I'm going to take one of those ones and combine it with the fraction, because that's what regrouping is. We're taking one of our whole and converting it then into a fraction form. So 1 1/4 in fraction form is 5/4. So let's think that through. 1 is the same as 4/4. And if we take 1/4 plus the 4/4, that gives us 5/4. So we can then rewrite 2 1/4 as 1 5/4. That's what regrouping is with mixed numbers. So I took one of the 2's, added it to the 1/4. 1 1/4 in fraction form is 5/4. Now I can subtract because I have enough fourths. 5/4 minus 3/4 is 2/4. There are no whole numbers left, and then we would simplify this to 1/2. All right, so here's our next problem. Now, if you want to try this on your own, you can pause the video and then come back and see if you did it right, or you can do it along with me. Okay, so right now in our fraction column, because we always start with the fractions, it says we need to take 3/8 away from 1/8. Well, if we only have 1/8, that's not enough to take 3, so I need some more eighths. And I can get them from the whole number. So I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to take one of these whole numbers away. So I have 4 whole numbers left, and then I'm going to turn it into eighths. And I know that every whole has 8/8 in it. So I have to combine that with the 1/8 that I have. And so we could rewrite 5 1/8 as 4 9/8. That's what we mean by regrouping or renaming. And so now we can subtract 3 3/8 very simply. 9/8 minus 3/8 is 6/8. and 4 minus 3 is 1. And if you're on the ball, you know that that is not simplest form. So we're going to keep the whole number, but we're going to simplify 3/4 or 6/8 to 3/4. And then I'm going to put a box around my answer. That way I know that when Mrs. Flint sees it, she knows that's my answer. Okay? All right, there is another way that you can do this. I'm not a big fan of this way, but our book does talk about it, so I feel like I need to tell you about it, okay? So right now we have a problem that requires regrouping because you can see that there are 6/12 that have to be taken from 4/12. Not enough 12ths to do that. So we're going to have to regroup. But rather than regroup out of the whole number, we're going to turn these into 2 fractions. Okay? So 3 and 4/12 would be, I want to make this all one fraction. And so our part size is 12ths. So there's 12/12 in 1. 24/12 in 2, 36/12 in 3. So I could replace this 3. This 3 is also the same as 36/12 because 36 divided by 12 is 3. Plus 4 more 12ths makes 40/12. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. 1 and 6/12. Well, this 1 could be thought of as 12/12. Plus 6 more 12ths makes 18/12. So now we have a fraction problem, even though they are improper fractions. Nothing wrong with that. You can subtract 18 from 40. And so 12ths is our part size, or our unit of measure, if you will. 40 minus 18 is 22, I believe. So now 22/12, I'm going to simplify that, and then I'm going to make it a mixed number. Because I can tell right now that I could use a factor of 2 to simplify this to 11/6. And then that's an easier division problem. 6 goes into 11 one time, and there's a remainder of 5, 1, and 5/6 would be the answer to the subtraction problem. All right, so in your book on page 311, that is going to be your assignment today. And I just want to show you quickly a couple of things. First of all, on number 1, it says to rename both mixed numbers as fractions. So that's that method I just showed you. So you're going to turn 3 and 3/6 into a fraction of 6, and 1 and 4/6 into another fraction of 6, and then you'll subtract them. Okay? Now, on these other problems, numbers 2, 3, and 4, you can use whichever method you prefer. As we go down, again, you can use whatever method you prefer. Now, when you get to the bottom, there is not enough room to work these problems out, so please do these on paper. On paper. Okay, because I want you to have enough room. All right, good luck. The answer key is attached, so you can check your answers when you are done, and I will see you later.